Hi, welcome to my YouTube. Now that my gun is totally disassembled, I'm going to take this opportunity to reassemble using parts from the conversion kit. I will be using this trigger housing and the front side post charging tube combo. I will not be using any of these plastic front side posts because the gun came with one aluminum or a metal front side post, so I'll be using that and this sling ring. Funny enough, the tube came in with one already, so I'll be using that as a spare. These GSG-5 selector, I'll be using that, and the charging handle, I'll be using one of them, and the other one will be for spare. Of course, I'll be using the mag catch. The only part that is totally useless to me is the receiver cap. Instead, I'll be hacking something to cover that up. So let's begin, and let's go backwards. The first thing I'm going to do is put the trigger assembly into the new GSG-5 trigger housing. And as you can see, the general shape is the same except for slight differences like the finger groove and this raised line part right here, and of course the logo, but otherwise they're both fairly identical. Okay, this trigger housing assembly, you have to put these two brass rings back on, and it's fairly simple. There is a spring right there. That spring what moves this plate forward, and so I need to put it back, and it's retained rather loosely by the housing, and of course with these brass rings. And the way to do it is you put it like this on top, then using a sharp knife push this spring forward at the same time with your thumb on the plate. Once you pass this part, this raised piece, then you lower the plate down. But have it set up like this. If you can see it like that, have it set up. Use a sharp knife, catch the edge of the spring, push it forward, and at the same time push down on the plate like that. It's in. Okay, and you can test that by making sure there is some tension on the plate like that. Now put the large brass ring over there and the smaller one down here, right over there like that. Okay, now take your new trigger housing and carefully slide it in. Now you might have a little bit of difficulty at first, is because these are made out of plastic and they have actually shrunk together a bit, so you might have to, you'll be struggling to get that in, but just don't force it. Let's do that like that. Okay, make sure these rings do not fall out, and here I'll show you that this part goes into this little rectangular area like this, and just push it down like that. Okay, Now before you put the selector back in, check to make sure this plate moves freely, like that. It moves forward freely, and the magazine safety also moves freely. Okay, so now you're ready to put in the selector. Now, this is what the GSG selector looks like. It also comes with a screw, and I want you to pay attention to the difference in the two. Okay, this is the 16 and this is the 5. Quite different. Okay, the one with the shaft goes on the right like that, and there's a groove right there on top. There's 2 of them, but you can slide that in like that, and make sure you come out on the other side right there, and okay, like that. Once that's in, take the other piece and make sure you're pointing the same angle, like that. Make sure you have the screw opening on this side. You could use the same screw that was with the 16. Insert that in like that. Okay. Get your fine Phillips. Tighten it all the way in. Okay, just snug, don't over tighten. Now you can check, before you go any further, check the movement. And check this one, this way on the right side. Yes, that works quite good. You might even want to check to make sure it works. Now you have to press the trigger, and it does. Okay, so that part is all done. The next thing we'll do is work on the receiver. Okay, now I'm about to put the 2 halves back together, but before I do that, I need to replace the 16 mag catch with the 5 mag catch. There are a slight difference in the 2. Okay, and if you notice, this part is coated with white grease, so that's an indication there's a lot of friction there. So I would take that as a hint to put some grease on the part that turns, and also, yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. And this is the way you put it back. It's like this, like that. Next is the charging handle guide rod that goes in this area, like that. And the barrel block goes in its spot. The 2 holes that's wide apart is on the bottom, and the 2 holes that's close together is on top. Oh, before I do that, I need to put the BHO back in, and I might as well put a little bit of grease. And oh, by the way, I found that MIA spring, and so I'm going to put this grease here so it wouldn't fall off so easily. And there, oh, where did it go? There it is. This is the spring that went MIA for a couple of days. So that'll go in right after I put the BHO. BHO goes in like this, and a small pin silver goes in like that. Make sure it moves, and I grease the slot where this spring goes to, and I'm just going to push it down like that. See it? Okay, so we're all done there, and now the barrel goes in. There's a hole on the right side. Actually, that would be left side. It goes over that hole. Like that. I'm not going to be bothered putting the top rail over the receiver. And now I'm ready to put the two halves together. Don't force it, just jiggle it. Okay, that's in. Remember, there was a screw on the right side. I'll put that in to hold it together. and the rest is on the left side. Don't totally tighten it at this stage. Just loosely tighten them. Okay. So I've got 3 screws remaining. 1 goes in the back and 2 goes in the front. But before I screw these ones, I need to put the new charging handle tube in. And I want you to see the difference between the two of them. First of all, this is metal and this is plastic. This has front round sight posts and this is 2 straight posts. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the ring is already installed and there's a significant weight difference. Here, I'll weigh this one right now. this weighs about 60 grams, and this weighs 250 grams. That weighs 60 grams. So you can actually feel the significant weight of this. Now, I already installed the metal front side posts that came with the rifle. It was in a plastic bag, and I also used the set screw that came with it, and I already tightened it, so I don't have to do it now. So already. Okay, next will be the actual caulking handle tube. It goes in like this. Now make sure the recess for the screw head is facing to the hole to the right, like that. Okay. Now I'm going to show you, this is the old caulking handle, and the conversion kit comes with two new ones. These are the 5 caulking handles. The reason for the 2 is because one of them have a little cutout for the SD model, so I won't be using that. This is the one I'll be using. And you would slide your caulking handle in like this. Make sure the finger groove, the place for the finger is facing forward, and then use a screw, insert it into the hole like this, and start screwing. Screw it in. Then move the caulking handle forward. Move the caulking handle forward, followed by the spring. Now you can slide the whole assembly onto the barrel, like so. Make sure the spring is in the guide. Now you'll notice that on this front sight charging handle combo has only one hole, but on the 16 there's 2 holes. You don't need to worry about the second hole. As long as you just screw in the first hole, you'll be okay. So slide that in, okay, like that. Push it in. Now, sometime you might need to use a bit of force, like a mallet, to make sure it gets all the way in. Yes. Make sure this tube touches the receiver. Flip it over and just put in one of the screw. Okay. Now you can tighten. Okay, tighten the screw, just snug. Don't over tighten. This is one screw on the right, which is a long screw. Now you have one short screw here, one short screw here, two short screw here, one long screw here. Just tighten them a little snug. Don't over tighten them. Now before I put the trigger housing back on, I want to show you what it looks like without the top rail. Looks kind of ugly if you ask me. You know, there's a hole here, and then of course this is where the top cap, receiver cap goes on, but it doesn't really fit. You can see that, and I don't really. It's not even long enough to cover the whole thing. There are too many holes here and there, and I don't feel like cutting up the receiver, honestly. Even if I did, it wouldn't cover all these holes. So I'm not going to be using that. I'm going to hack myself a top rail delete, and make sure everything functioned properly before you put the trigger. Test out the mag catch and make sure the charging handle works fine. Yep, it does. Everything looks good. So next thing we'll go is the front sight. Okay. Now the trigger and the bolt goes back in. Like so. Here goes the lower. Like that. And slide it all the way forward. Next, you have to put the bolt stop in. It's kind of hard to tell, but you put it down like this. You'll be needing the aid of a screwdriver to point it down and push it down like that. It's now in. Now you need to put this hex screw in. Make sure you have a washer in there too. Now use the hex screw and tighten. Okay, that's good. Check it out, make sure everything works fine. And it does. Okay. Oh, I should have put this screw back on earlier. See if I could put it in. It's a little difficult. I have to use a flashlight to to make sure I line it up. It's not particularly easy, and it's not. I'm going to have to do it off camera. Oh, I might just be able to do it. Oh, got it in. Lucky. Lucky, lucky, lucky. Okay, just snug. I'll put in the bottom grip cap, and then the 2 screws. It uses a Phillips. Like that. Now, put the front pin. I'll tighten the snug later. Then come the retractable stock. Oop. I'm coming to an end soon. Okay. Okay, now we come to the fake suppressor. Pretty simple. Slide it down the barrel, and then you push it in as far as you can, and then start twisting it in. Okay. The GSG-5 front side block uses a thread to hold the suppressor in, while you know the GSG-16 just slides it in and uses a set screw. Luckily for us, the GSG-5 block has a place for the set screw. So here, you turn that in, and you can just twist it in. Okay, I'm not personally going to install this right now, and that is because I plan to put a thread on this so it will actually go the same way as the GSG-5, where you twist it, you thread it in. So that I'll do later. Okay, so obviously I already have the, I have to change the handguard to a GSG-5 handguard, which is the triangular handguard. But if you prefer this and you're wondering if you could use this, well, not quite without modification. It'll fit. It'll fit onto to a 5 charging handle, and you could actually put these 2 screws in the back in, but there's actually nothing in the front holding it, so you have to modify that. Okay, so there you have it. Doesn't this look fantastic? The 5 front sight, the 5 charging handle. Oh, better put the magazine in. The 5 ambidextrous selector, the grip. So this is a GSG-16 with the conversion kit, GSG-5 conversion kit installed. It looks great. This is I'm not finished yet. I still got to change the furniture. So, thank you very much for joining me, and please subscribe.